So take the Apaches, for example. They were able to obtain from the Spanish horses and guns. What did they do when they had a superior position? Did they work out some deal and be all generous? No, they slaughtered all the opposing tribes and took all their lands. So there was like maybe 5,000 Sioux, because 5,000 back then was a big tribe. And they had like South Dakota and Nebraska and Iowa. Their range was massive. They had conquered the buffalo lands in that areas. A few thousand people, because they had guns and horses. You know? So don't tell me that the Americans were unjust and wrong. It was the American Indians had the right to do whatever they wanted because they were so much more powerful. And if the American Indians would have then taken Andrew Jackson's advice and become citizens, then they would have some legal ground and some power. And they then could make a claim on justice. But they refused to be citizens. So then it's just a question of strong and weak. It's not a question of justice. Just like if the Indians had the nuclear weapon, they would have bombed the fuck out of the colonists. In fact, when Lewis and Clark went across America in 1805 or whenever, and this is when America was still fresh and the Indians were really naive and they never really met white people except for a few trappers from France, you know? And what did the Indians want? They wanted guns. Why? So they could attack their opponents. They wanted horses for the same reason, because they wanted to go make themselves equal with the Apaches. Because when they're equal, they can then negotiate a just form of living, like a civil way of life. You know, like you have this territory, I have this territory, you hunt here, I hunt there. If they're equal, they can make these claims or these arguments, negotiate. But when one tribe has no guns and the other one has horses and guns, justice is whatever this powerful tribe, the Apaches, want to do. And they must suffer. There's no, if the Apaches want to be nice, which is not a quality of the Indians, it's charity and mercy. Believe me, that is not one of their qualities. That's a Christian value. It's a white person value. They wanted to, then they could have, but they wouldn't. The Apaches would slaughter everybody and send the other tribes into the Rocky Mountains where the people were living on roots and little berries, hungry. God, when Lewis and Clark went across to Colorado and they met the tribes, and like the last bit of food that the Lewis and Clark had was like flour mixed with water with some raspberries. And they gave it to the chief. He said it was the best food he's ever had in his life. And this is after what? 5,000 years of development in America? I mean, this is what the tribes have? A giant tribe was 1,000 people. They weren't that big. They were tiny. Why? Because they were killing each other. They were just fighting and fighting. There was no negotiation, no land. There was no common God. There was no common culture, no common language. They were just fighting back and forth until the Apaches or some other tribes got the gun. Then things got a little unfair.